Our tree canopy protects us from storms, air pollution, and heat, but it's shrinking. According to a recent report here in Northeast Florida, it's shrinking faster than the rest of the state. The findings are the focus of an upcoming panel tomorrow at WJCT Studios. And here to talk about it is Lisa Grubba, the executive director of Greenscape of Jacksonville. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Ann.
We're also joined by Jonathan Colborn, manager of the city's urban forestry program. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning.
And Joe Anderson, an arborist and vegetative specialist at JEA. Good morning.
Good morning.
We're also joined by Jessica Palombo, news director at WJCT News and editor of Jacksonville Today, moderator of the panel on the tree canopy. Good morning, Jessica.
Good morning.
So, Lisa, let's start by sort of defining what a tree canopy is and why it matters.
Okay. The tree canopy is basically all of the trees in a particular area. And why it matters is, trees, there are many benefits from trees, including stormwater uptake, shade. They can cool an area by up to 30 degrees. There are a lot of ecosystem benefits. And so tracking that in an urban area is very important as far as, increasing those benefits for the particular city's needs.
And I would guess assessing the tree canopy is probably a bit of an art and a science. You're looking at the entirety of this landscape, I guess, through satellite images. I mean, how is, for instance, this report assessing the overall state of the tree canopy?
There are many different ways to track the inventory of trees. Satellite is one way, but it is not as useful in urban forestry as aerial imagery. And that's done by airplanes, which is much closer than satellite imagery and much more detailed. So satellite is not as useful for urban forestry as aerial imagery. And so that's what this report was reliant on.
Okay. And you manage the city's urban forestry program, Jonathan. So a little description of urban forestry, but also I'm interested in, what this Florida Forest Service report from a couple Decembers ago found about how this area is doing.
Yeah, so I manage the applied arm of the city's urban forestry operations, and basically we prune and remove trees and plant trees. We do a few other things too. The state actually put together a very nice report a couple of years ago now, and describes all across the state what is going on with urban forests. And in the northeast quadrant, they did find that there's a bit of deforestation occurring. We have a pretty good proportion of our forests compared to other areas in the states, but we're concerned about the direction. That 4% that we're losing per decade is could accrue to be an issue.
Yeah, so Jacksonville does okay in this report, and a large part of that has to do with the fact that the city itself is so big. So when you're comparing the city of Jacksonville to the city of Tampa, for instance, it seems like obvious. We've got way more trees, right? We're a huge, incorporated county.
So many similarities and differences. I agree with you.
Yeah. And yet, you wouldn't have to talk to many people to find someone that says, yeah, I believe that clear cutting is an issue. They've taken down, acres and acres of trees from my neighborhood or my drive to work. And so, Joe, first of all, what is your job? I mean, in terms of being an arborist and a vegetative specialist, are you involved at all in maintaining the city's tree canopy?
We do. As a utility, we do get involved in protecting the resilience of our utilities, and many of our utilities share the same space of trees. But urban forestry is like a giant puzzle piece. There are so many pieces. There's municipal pieces, advocacy groups, there's utility pieces, political pieces. So really it will take the whole community to be involved, to include municipalities, to include the corporate sector, to include utilities.
And so I think of JEA probably is an agency that gets a lot of heat. You guys have to do trimming, a lot of times ahead of storms, but that can make people upset if you're going through their neighborhood and you're taking down, half of the tree that is in the way of the power line. And so I'm sure that you hear a lot of that.
Sure, on some
community.
occasions, but that's why JEA hires foresters and arborists to be on staff to make sure that we can maintain the health of the tree and help contribute to the enhancement of the urban forest rather than a decline.
Yeah, Jessica Palombo, I mean, we'll talk about the event specifically, but why is it that WJCT is interested in kind of advancing this conversation?
Well, we've had conversations past few years under the ADAPT banner here at WJCT Public Media in our studios, these live events where we invite people in from the community We have heard from the mayor. We've heard from the chief resilience officer these past couple of years. This year, when Greenscape approached us about this event, about talking about tree cover, it was something different for us that sounded important, worthwhile having this conversation here. So I was happy to have this opportunity to bring up this issue and highlight it for the community so we could have a conversation, bring in the public, and people could get involved and see what they might want to do about this issue.
And ADAPT really does have a broad brush. I mean, it's been, podcasts, it's also been productions, events, conversations, and all around issues, not just resilience, but, sea level rise and
Climate, sea level rise is where we started, and all of these issues are intertwined, of course.
super important. Yeah.
And if I could jump in and say, in my, this is my 5th year at Greenscape, and doing this town hall was sort of the culmination of all the things we've been hearing from the public over the last 5 years. And we realized that we really want to get the public on the same page as far as understanding the benefits of trees and understanding the particular issues that we are dealing with here in Northeast Florida. And that way, when they want to talk to their elected official or their community, that way we're kind of all working off the same page. And so that was our interest in putting together this town hall, which we did with the support of the Florida Forest Service.
Talk a little bit about the situation with trees as they are depleted. I think we often think of clear cutting for a new development as, the chief way that they're removed. But there are, entire neighborhoods, places like Arlington, where the trees that were planted when that became a neighborhood have sort of outlived their natural life. And so they're losing their tree canopy. Can you describe the different challenges for different parts of town when it comes to the depletion of the tree canopy?
Sure. I mean, you're entirely correct. What you have is you have trees that are aging out in some parts of town. And, we have gorgeous tree cover in some of our historic parts of town. But if we're not planting now, some of those trees are 150 or 200 years old. If we are not planting to replenish, then when those trees age out, you're not going to have a canopy. We're also seeing much more storm damage than we were in years past. The storm damage has been pretty severe, and we're just seeing general development, not even the massive development like a big subdivision or a distribution center like we're having out on Heckscher Drive, but even just sort of infill within the city as areas expand. It's more stress and pressure on that tree. We're cutting once again into those tree roots for fiber optic or utilities or sewer or sidewalks or road expansion. And as we're continuing to put pressure on our existing trees, that's something that we really have to balance as a city. The needs of what the public wants in conjunction with how do we keep this tree canopy healthy.
Jonathan, what is the city's perspective in terms of the chief threat to the overall canopy? What is it? Is it storm damage? Is it development that is just removing trees to make way for, new sewer lines? Is it something else?
Yeah, I think we really want to take a holistic perspective to it. It's development for sure. That's a primary concern, but storm damage is definitely significant as well. We have 300 trees down when a hurricane comes through on our roads, and that's not a small number. So I think it's just important that we acknowledge that urban forestry is that intersection of people and trees and our infrastructure, and we need everything to get along. We need to have intent and purpose in how we manage it.
Yeah. I'm curious, just in terms of measuring the tree canopy, a lot of Northeast Florida is, known as silviculture, or basically tree farms. Does that count when
Yes.
it comes to tree cover? Okay.
Yes.
And should it?
Yes, absolutely, because they're providing ecosystem benefits to our area.
Until they're removed.
True. But, overall, Jacksonville has roughly, depending on which study you're looking at and which particular geographic area, they have 45 to 50 something percent canopy coverage. That's considered very good in the country. Many municipalities, their goal is to get to 30%. And we're up around the 50% level. But this Florida Forest Service study did show that we've lost almost 4% of the tree. So that trend is not good. But overall, yes, we have a lot of forested land, which contributes to that high number.
You spoke about the fact that this needs to be a partnership between agencies, private property owners, and, for instance, utilities, Joe. Do we have a sense as to the land that's available to be planted? How much of that belongs to the public? How much of that belongs to industry or utilities or anything else?
Well, the urban forest is probably the fastest growing forest type in the state of Florida, and most of that property will be private properties, residents, homeowners, and they do have a part to play. The trees that they have in their yard are part of the urban forest canopy. So most of it will be private.
So, I mean, how do we work with private property owners? What is the most important thing that they learn about an urban tree canopy?
I can help with that. It would be understanding what the risks are, what the hazards of a tree is, because you want to maintain the health of that tree through the life of the tree. So you want to maximize the benefits and minimize the risk and the hazards.
And so how do they do that?
By working with certified arborists and foresters. They could be the private sector. Jacksonville has a very strong tree industry here, not just with municipalities or utilities, but the private sector in providing tree services, tree care services.
There is also a website that basically lets people search up their own area. Is that right, Lisa? Where you can kind of put in an address and see how the health of the tree canopy is in your own neighborhood or where you work or whatever part of the community you're curious about.
Yes, you can go to American Forests and look up their tree equity score, and then you can enter your address. Also, if you want to see what the city is doing in your area, they have their trees tracked, and you can go to the urban forestry website on the City of Jacksonville's website, and you can. There's a button that says Tree Plotter, which is the name of the software, and you can click on that and see what's being planted in your area. But Greenscape also, for 35 years, has done a tree giveaway, first a tree sale, now a great tree giveaway, and we try to give up to a couple thousand trees away to the public for free every year. And the purpose in doing that is to help grow trees on private property, because Joe is entirely correct. The majority of land in Northeast Florida is in private hands. And so even if the city was able to do absolutely every single thing they needed to do regarding the tree canopy, we still would need the help of the public. And so that's our effort, to engage the public and get the public planting trees on their property.
And Jonathan, I think that the city also, if you call like the 630 city, will actually deliver a tree to your house. Is that right? And give you a free tree if you're a property owner?
It's a great program that we've had for about 5 years now, where we do bring a tree and we have a 3-month warranty where it's watered, and then we ask the homeowner to water it subsequent to that, and we get great establishment in the right-of-ways in front of people's houses.
Yeah. So, Jessica, this event is tomorrow, Wednesday, and it's here at WJCT Studios. Can you just tell us about what people should do if they're interested in participating?
Absolutely. Register at wjct.org/events. The name of our event is Adapt State of the Canopy. Register there. It's a free event. All of our events are free in studio. We do ask that you register in advance. You will have a chance to submit a question card when you attend the event. So if you have a question for the panel, and you'll be able to interact with our Greenscape representative, a member of the Volunteer Tree Commission from the City of Jacksonville, and the city's Resilience Office will be all represented on that panel. And you'll be able to interact with people tabling outside the event beforehand. So come early. We start at 5:30, and then the panel discussion promptly at 6 tomorrow evening.
Well, wonderful. Lisa Grubba, Jonathan Colborn, Joe Anderson, Jessica Palombo, thank you all so much for being here. Appreciate it.
You're most
Thank you
welcome.
for having us.